Well, it's another very unique opportunity in the city of Lagos, Nigeria, West Africa. It is a very common opinion and a general consensus that Nigeria is in need of development, is in need of a total overhaul. A change that is going to bring goodness to the people, that is going to make those that are hungry to be well fed and taken out from the poverty lane. Yes, today we are lucky to meet one of Nigeria's greatest one, a man with a large heart, a man whose vision is very unique, a man who has a dream to take Nigeria from the oligarchs and take Nigeria back to the masses, giving Nigeria back to Nigerians. A man who is ready to bring food to the table of the masses. He is a very different man. He is a man who sees the future ahead. And today, we meet him somewhere in Lagos, in his office here in Lagos, Mr. Davidson Isibor Akhimien, a great Nigerian, a polyglot, and a man of vision, the national presidential candidate of the Grassroots Development Party of Nigeria, the aspirant of the party. And we meet him today, and we are very privileged. Sir, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you for giving us this very honor to meet you, sir.
My pleasure.
We've been trying to talk to you for a long time, but in most cases, your handlers say you are busy with the masses, you are busy with the people of this country, trying to see how you can bring a definite solution to the problem of poverty, the problem of destruction, self-destruction, and bring Nigeria to where it's supposed to be among the community of nations. Let me start by asking you, sir, who is Mr. Davidson Isibor Akhimien? Who is this gentleman? Can you tell us who you are, sir?
Davidson Isibor Akhimien is a Nigerian like any other Nigerian. I hail from Edo State, Asan, West Local Government Area of Edo State. And I was born into a military family. My father is a retired captain of the Nigerian Army. I went to school in the north. My primary schooling was done in Kaduna, Army Children's School, Kapuri, Kaduna. My secondary school education was in Nigerian Military School, Zaria. After which I came to the West to attend the University of Ife, then University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University. There I read modern European languages with a combined honors degree in French and Portuguese. After several years serving in the army, I went back to the Nigerian Defense Academy to do a short service combatant course in 1990 and served in the military intelligence until my retirement as a lieutenant in 1996. So altogether I had spent 19 years, 57 days in the Nigerian Army, where I was the Central Security Control Manager of the entire organization. From there, I moved to the university in Ileshan Remo called Babcock University. It's a private university. And I became the Director of Security Services of Babcock University, Ileshan Remo. I held that position for several years. And from there, I started my business. My first company was King David Security Limited, and from there my business empire grew to include 5 other companies. Today I'm an employer of labor. I employ over 8,000 Nigerians in over 22 states of the country. I am a minister of the gospel, and I've been privileged to be schooled in different institutions, both home and abroad, and to obtain varying degrees at the master's level, and I'm currently a doctoral student of political science with emphasis on peace and conflict resolution from the Babcock University. I hold a postgraduate diploma in theology with pastoral emphasis from Babcock University. I hold a master's in international law and diplomacy from the University of Lagos. I hold another master's in criminology from the University of Lagos. And like I said, I'm just at the terminal point of my PhD in political science from Babcock University.
You intimidated us. You have a very, very huge and intimidating profile. Before we go into government, growing up in Nigeria, how did Nigeria prepare you for this domineering challenge? I mean, this intellectual capacity, I mean, to be able to prepare yourself for all this. I mean, how can somebody have 8,000 workers, almost 22 companies? How did you get that kind of strength of, a sense of leadership?
Well, some people say leadership is developed. Some people say leaders are born.
Okay, which one do you believe, sir?
Well, from my experience, I would say even though leaders are born, leaders have to work on the gifts that they are given. Whatever gift you're endowed with by God from heaven, I think it all behoves you as the individual to work on that gift, and that will now enlarge your capacity. For me, I've never believed in idle time. I always believe in getting myself fully engaged and using my potentials to the maximum. I believe that everything that I have or I've been endowed with by God, it is to better my humanity. So if I'm giving a seed, I try to multiply the seed. And that is why, you see, in my approach to business, I believe that nothing is impossible to whoever believes that he can do. So, and it has worked for me in business. And that's why today I'm able to run the number of companies that I run. I'm able to multitask. And never forgetting also the divine factor, the God factor. So with God on your side, you can do all things, So, and I think I can also bring that acumen into the public space, into the public domain, into public service. Yes, and I believe that my country, Nigeria, will benefit from the gift that the Lord has given me.
Now, let me go to Nigeria, even though it's coming to your lifestyle. At what time did you decide to take this giant task of leading the country out of challenge, out of the problem that we are faced with right now? At what time? A lot of people in your age bracket will have sit down to enjoy the wealth, to enjoy the goodness of what they've been able to multiply. They're multiplying the of your wealth, but you are training yourself to public service. You are giving yourself a lot of headache about millions of people. At what time did you decide to go into all this, and why?
No, I've always believed in what you call a better life for humanity. We all have a common humanity. So it is first the recognition of the fact that we have a common humanity, that gives one, that impetus for action. Now, as an individual, I do not live for myself.
That's a big one, sir.
I do not live for myself. If I live for myself, I live in vain.
I've never heard it before.
I'm happy, I derive happiness from the happiness of people around. When my people are happy, when the people that are what you call the downtrodden of the earth, les damnés de la terre, according to the French, those that are on the fringes of society, when they can have a smile on their face, when they can afford 3 square meals, when they can be able to raise their heads above water, then I can be said to be happy. But if my people are not happy, I'm not happy. When there's justice in the land, I'm happy. When there's injustice in the land, and I'm in a position to ensure that the thing is reversed, the situation is reversed, I have the capacity and the capability, according to my God-given talents, to bring about a reversal of injustice in wherever sphere of influence, that I find myself, then I step into the fray. So for me, when I decided to go into politics, was when I saw that the political experience of the Nigerian people, who are supposed to be the benefactors, I mean the beneficiaries, of democracy. Because if you look at it, what is democracy? Democracy is all about government of the people, for the people, by the people.
Yes, sir.
But what we have experienced over time in Nigeria is that democracy has been defined as government of the people, by the people, for the masses, and for the rich, for the elite. Every 4 years, the elite come back to the grassroots and give them stipends, little inducements, in order to win their votes, to send them back to power, for them to take away their commonwealth. So you find that in the final analysis, the grassroots people are the ones that suffer. Meanwhile, it's the grassroots that confer power by way of the social contract to the political elites, but they do not get the benefits of democracy. And I think it's a misnomer.
Something like that.
I think it's a misnomer, and I think it's unacceptable. I think it is inhuman. I think it is wicked. 4 years after they come back,
like the vicious circle.
It's a vicious circle, and that's why we have this thing about recycled politicians in the system. It brings me to a point where I say, I think it's more important to educate our people, voter education, that the people's psyche be changed, that we speak to the minds of the average Nigerian to know that they can take back the power that belongs to them and give it to people who will be ready to serve them and ensure that they get the dividends of democracy. Voter education, as far as we are concerned as Grassroots Development Party of Nigeria, is very critical to the transformation of our political process. We discourage money politics in all of its ramifications. Why? Because money politics leads to the politics of godfatherism. Politics of godfatherism leads to the politics of imposition of candidates. And when candidates are imposed, it is never the will of the people.
It is evil, sir.
It's never the will of the people. And such imposed candidates will never have the people's interest at heart in most cases. You find that they pander towards the whims and caprices of their benefactors. So that is why I believe that for democracy to thrive in its real sense in Nigeria, the people must be free to elect the candidates of their choice. The people must be free to allow the democratic process to flow in the manner that it should flow. The people must not be encumbered by any money bags anywhere. Let the will of the people hold sway.
I'm very disappointed in knowing that someone like you is hiding somewhere here. And I'm I think I'm ashamed for Nigeria not to have discovered someone like you with your guts and your sense of leadership. But let me ask you this question. In your quiet time, when you're in your bedroom, when you're sleeping, and you look at Nigeria, you listen to the radio, you watch the TV, you read the paper, how do you feel as a Nigerian?
I think Nigerians have a complete feeling of despondency now. There's a complete feeling of disillusionment. When you look at the things that are happening around us in our country, you begin to ask yourself, is this the country that I grew up in? When we were growing up, I've always said this at different fora.
Yes, sir.
When we were growing up, we had great expectations for our nation. On May 27th, I think, Children's Day,
yes, sir,
we all look forward to going to the race course and marching. It was a day that kids kids in Nigeria always look forward to. Not anymore. Not anymore. We always look forward to all of those, public activities that brought us together, irrespective of tribe, creed, or religion, irrespective of political or ethnic persuasion. We all look forward to October 1st, the day of our independence, a symbol of national unity.
Yeah.
We all rallied around symbols of national unity. We were proud of the Nigerian flag. We were proud of the Nigerian passport. Not anymore. Never was it heard that Nigerians will be crossing the Red Sea to look for greener pastures in Europe and dying in their numbers.
It's annoying, sir.
Never was it heard that a country as small as Libya and not as endowed as our great country Nigeria will be the ones that will be holding our people as slaves. So when you look at all of this, look at the xenophobic action of the South Africans, especially against Nigerians. When I was schooling, South Africans used to come to attend our universities here. My roommates in the University of Ife were South Africans. Today, South Africans are killing Nigerians in their numbers.
Humiliating us.
Just because of the absence of what I call citizens diplomacy in my great country, Nigeria. A lot is wrong, and that is why our nation needs a rebirth. Our nation needs a rebirth. When we talk about coming to power, we're not talking about coming to power for power's sake. We're talking about coming to power to recreate Nigeria. To recreate Nigeria. To build solid foundations upon which the future of this country will depend. Look at our youths.
That's a very horrible case.
It's over 70% of Nigeria's population that are youths.
Yes, sir.
What is happening to the youths? The youths are supposed to be the future of any great country. When you talk about Nigeria, you're not talking about the soil composition.
Yes, sir.
You're not talking about the geographical expression. When you talk about the nation Nigeria, you're talking about the people of Nigeria. And it is the people that matter. If a country is going to be great, there needs to be greatness in the human potential, in the human element. If your country is going to be great tomorrow, we want to begin to see the greatness in your youth of today. But what is the case? What's the situation as we stand? You find unemployment of youths. A very, very high percentage of unemployment of youth in our country. As it is now, the drug problem is ravaging our youths all over Nigeria. What do you find with our youths today? 35-year-olds are still living in their parents' houses because they cannot afford a job. Meanwhile, our leaders that have ruled us past and now became heads of states and presidents even at the age of 29. Where are we getting with all of these? It's a very ominous signal. It's an ominous signal for the future of Nigeria. And that is why if something is not done, if there's no intervention now in the social order and the political order of our country, Nigeria may cease to have the preeminence that it had in time past, both in the continent of Africa and in the global arena.
Let me even come to the youth, sir, because I'm going to go back. I know where you're coming from, sir. In a country where the leader says the youth are lazy, sir, looking at it critically, and the youth are saying, no, we are not lazy, but it's your generation that disappointed us. How do you describe that? Do you really see a kind of dislocation in these counter arguments? I mean, do you think your generation disappointed the youth?
You see, what I will say is this. In the first place, I think it was inappropriate for that kind of statement to have been made. And even if it had to be made, the forum where it was made was not proper. It was a proper forum for it to have been made. If it was made here in our nation and the people were addressed directly and not in the international community. I think it would have been more appropriate because you were addressing an issue towards, looking for corrections.
Yes, sir.
For correction,
yes,
you are addressing the right people.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, but be that as it may.
Yes, sir.
The Nigerian youth, as indeed any other youth anywhere in the world, looks for an enabling environment to thrive. There needs to be what you call a retooling, a rekitting of our youth population. Because there has been an absence of tooling and kitting. That's good. Where do you expect the youth to start from? They go to school, they expend energy and brain power in acquiring education, the requisite education, to be able to make themselves employable. But they come out of school and there's no employment. Where is the fault of the youth in this? It's a failure of successive generations, successive leadership, to build a society that will be self-sustaining, a society that will be able to provide for its youth the gainful employment that is required to move them from point A to point B. Yeah. Let us take another example.
Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Government cannot possibly create jobs that will take care of all of the unemployed in society. Indeed, from the point of view of economics, it is not the responsibility of government to create jobs. The responsibility of government is to create the enabling environment for the private sector to be able to create jobs.
That's interesting.
So in a situation where companies in the real sector, that's in the manufacturing sector in Nigeria, and indeed almost every other sector, are crying for the high cost of doing business.
Very horrible.
A situation where retrenchments and downsizings are taking place as a result of poor performance of the economy. A situation where companies are leaving the shores of this land because of lack of infrastructure, requisite infrastructure for their companies to be able to at least break even.
Just to break
even.
Yep.
Look at the situation of the power generation and transmission in our country.
That's crazy, sir.
Companies cannot continue to thrive on diesel and machinery, generators.
Yeah.
So they find it difficult to break even, and most of them are leaving the shores of this land. And what is the concomitant effect on the population?
Yeah.
Many people will lose their jobs.
Ask you this question. Looking at it, when you were growing up, you saw Dunlop in Nigeria, you saw Michelin tires, you saw a buoyant economy society whereby people go to night shifts instead of night vigil, whereby people resume in a legitimate any job. But today, most of these companies are nowhere to be found, and most of these buildings are occupied by churches. As a leader, a political leader, a visionary, and a man of God, what does that do to you, sir? I mean, no job, but people are now rushing to those places are now cathedrals of worship instead of cathedrals of production or economic generation. What does that do to you, sir?
Yeah, it really pains my heart because there's a diversion. There's a diversion from that which ought to be to that which shouldn't be. What am I saying? When a people are impoverished, when a people are frustrated, when a people are deprived of these basic sources of income, the people now become prey. They become prey to predators. The people now lose their psychological balance as a result of the conditions in which they now find themselves. Talking about the transition from production to religion.
That is where I'm going, sir. Yes.
If I may make inferences, I will say that it is sad. God does not encourage laziness. Even in the Holy Writ, go read the book of Proverbs. It is said that you sluggard, look at the ant, let the ant teach you a lesson of how that you must walk, not that you must eat. And if you are not able to walk and put food on the table, you are worse than an infidel.
That's sad.
When people are encouraged to come to houses of worship on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, when able-bodied men should be producing for themselves, should be doing work that should earn them a living, I think it is a very wicked approach by men of God to the conditions of the conditions of liberate. I mean, the ways of liberating people from poverty. Because let me tell you, you can pray,
yes, sir,
against poverty, but if you don't work against poverty, your prayer will be to no avail.
I've not heard that before, sir. You can pray against poverty, but if you don't work against poverty, your prayer will be to no avail.
Absolutely. Because faith without works is dead, standing alone. So let the people not be deceived. It's important for them to be able also to read their scriptures, just as the Bereans did, and find out what the scripture is saying. A lot of people today are being hoodwinked, brainwashed. They are brainwashed, and they part away with just the little they have, just because some man of God said this, some man of God said that. Instead of you going to look for work and apply yourself diligently on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you go and stay in church or in the mosque, fasting and praying, and not apply yourself to diligent work. And you know, religious leaders encourage this. So that's why I'm saying,
yes, sir,
as a result of the conditions we find ourselves, we have become prey to predators.